Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you could tell, I have a little bit of a stuffy nose going on. Today, we are doing an updated version of our house tour, checking up on all of our tanks and letting you see how everyone is growing. So make sure you subscribe and like and turn on those notifications, and let's get into the video. I need some tea. Hold on. It's hot. It's hot tea. You're a hot tea. Okay, I'll stop. We are starting out with our angels, and they have begun to show some territorial behavior, so hopefully that means they are pairing off. But it also means some of our plants have taken a little picking too, so our Anubias Pinto is taking a beating, but hopefully our Crypt Flamingo is growing well, and will continue to do so. This is my son Charlie's tank, and everything seems to be doing really well in his tank, and sometimes no news is good news.
Oh, he's hiding under the plant. How cute. Hi, buddy. There you are. See, you're so pretty, you gotta come out.
In this tank, we have our polar parents and a community of their fry. We have left the fry in this tank to grow out as to stop or slow down the breeding, and it has worked so far. We also have some Anubias and Vallisneria in this tank, and they took quite a beating when we were having breeding, but now we've stopped breeding. The plants have made quite a recovery. Checking in on my daughter Nobi's tank, everything seems to be growing really well, and though the beta Cosmo shows a little aggression towards his guppy buddy, for the most part they get along just fine. And as you can see, the crypt here in the corner is growing so beautifully well. So I thought I would take a minute and introduce you to some of my other terrestrial plants that we have. We actually have an Algerian ivy that we have been growing, and it is doing really well. We have a purple heart, or known as the purple wandering dude. Very funny name, I think. We also have a Croton petra plant, or I just call it the tiny tree pot plant, because it kind of looks like a pot plant and it looks like a tiny little tree, but that's not right. It's a Croton petra plant. If you'd like me to do a video on these terrestrial plants you've seen here, please comment down below. Up next is one of my absolute favorite tanks. This is our 20-gallon long Blue Dream shrimp tank. And even though we've recently sold some Blue Dreams, this tank is absolutely bursting with life. If you see our plants, they used to be small and clean and tidy, and now they just look like they are so vibrant and growing into almost a little jungle. Moving on to our 75-gallon cichlid tank, we currently have a brown diatom algae outbreak going on, which looks a little yucky, but in time it will clear up. We added some extra rocks to make more cave dwellings for our cichlids, and we even have a sword that has a runner that has sprouted. Next up are our line-bred guppies called the Purple Dragon Mosaic Guppies. And these guppies are growing super well and healthy, including their fry. But we have noticed on the glass of our tank these tiny little invertebrate creatures. And these creatures are called hydras, and they are translucent tubes with little tentacles. And no, it's not the multi-headed monster from Greek and Roman mythology or the criminals that Captain America keeps fighting. These little guys are invertebrates, and their closest relative is none other than the jellyfish.
then I need you to go that way. Can you go that way?
If you haven't already, could you please subscribe? Cheers. Here we have our most established tank. We call it Sonic's tank, and he's currently hiding. But as you can see, our plants like the Monte Carlo and Anubias gigantea are growing really well. We do have this new chain sword that we've put in, and it is taking very well. And there's Sonic. He has a little bit of a growth growing on his fin, but it doesn't affect his swimming at all, and it doesn't seem to bother him. Next is our 36-gallon platy tank, and everything in this tank is growing exceptionally well, including the plants. And there's really not much to say other than that we do separate our pregnant platies as to save the fry. Okay, now that we have done all of the other tanks, it is now time for our wrecking system. And I am not going to put the lighting and the temperature in the corner of every single one because there are so many tanks. But just so you know, the lighting is about high, medium to high lighting, and the temperature is 72 to 74 or preset to 76. So let's get into the wrecking system. Starting off, we have our very busy guppy tank, but what's very exciting is we have a wisteria plant that has new leaves growing on it. We didn't know if it would make a comeback, but in this tank it is growing quite well. It's a beautifully scaped tank, and we have a couple of plecos that have even had fry in this tank. Next, we have our oldest polar parrot fry growing out in this tank. We have a crypt that is filling out, as well as an Anubias on a rock, and a beautiful ocelot sword that is growing. We are going to change out the filter on this tank, so we may show you that process in the future. Moving on to our snail tank, we recently updated the filter and the substrate. If you want to see that video, check it out in the description. But everyone is still adjusting. The pH is at 7.6 at our last check, which is great, is a lot better from the 6.4 that we were at. In our middle 40-gallon tank on the rack, we have our Acara parents that have been separated because they are fighting, and we can't have that. We do have some brown diatom algae breaking out in here, and we have planted a new crypt flamingo as well as an Anubias out of the top, and a sweet potato that is growing quite well. In the top left of our racking system, we have our youngest Acara fry growing out, as well as our youngest bristlenose plecos. You can kind of see them way in the back there. And in this tank, we also have a beautiful peace lily that has an amazing root system, which gives a lot of security to our fry. Moving on to what we call our party pleco tank, we have a long fin albino female that has bred with a lemon male, and we're really excited to see what their fry will look like. He is currently sitting on eggs, but he did drop a few, so my husband rigged up a little tumbler to bounce those eggs so that we can have some viable plecos born. Next, we have our 20-gallon Acara fry tank. These are our oldest Acaras growing out, and we recently added some substrate and recently sold some of these guys. We also have a beautiful grouping of hornwort that is growing as well. In our last tank, we also have some Acaras that are growing out and looking healthy. We also have some plecos that are hanging out in here, and the next group of bristlenose fry will go in this tank as well. I hope you enjoyed this update on all of our awesome tanks. Next time I will make sure I'm a little bit less under the weather. And we will see you in the next one. Of my not being able to understand my words. What did I need to say? I forgot. I'm tired, you guys. I'm tired.